Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim. We talk about horror movies on this show, and in this episode we are coming back again to Hatchet, this time Hatchet 2, because Victor Crowley, the fourth Hatchet movie, is coming out in a few weeks, and we are making sure we are up to date and we've caught up, and we were ready to go for the new one. So, so we were lukewarm in the first one. It was thoroughly mediocre, not terrible, not good, just kind of in the middle. And we'll see how we are here. We'll start spoiler free, as we typically do, and we'll warn you somewhere in the middle before we dive into spoilers. Tim, just for my peace of mind, say hello to everyone, say hi, say something profound if possible, but I'm not going to hold you to
it. Hello. I hope everyone is doing well up there, and be nice to everybody.
He said that as if we were recording this in hell. Like, everyone up there, be nice to each other. Be nice, because, you could end up down here with us.
Well, I mean, sometimes I wonder if I'm not stuck in hell, but...
With some of the movies we watch, I don't blame that. When we were watching The Bye Bye Man and It Watches, like, come on, it feels like hell. It feels like we're on a loop. It'll never end.
Yeah.
This is the thing. We read about Hatchet 2. Hatchet 2, which picks up right from the very second that Hatchet 1 ends at, except we've recast the lead character. But besides that, Hatchet 1, male spoilers for Hatchet 1, I kind of have to say that because this is where it starts. But it's, Victor Crowley grabs the main character, Mary Beth, out of the boat. And we ended with that, with them screaming at each other. We pick up Hatchet 2, and they're screaming at each other, and then we just continue from there. And she does get away, and then goes and gets Todd's character, gets help, and he essentially forms a team of rednecks with guns to potentially go into the swamp and take out Victor Crowley and get the bodies back of her brother and father because she wants to bury them and get revenge against Victor Crowley. That's the gist of the movie. That's the whole thing. So we're going to talk about that. Tim.
Yeah. This
was a first time watch for you. This was not a first time watch for me. I'd seen the second one as well. I've not seen any after this though, so the third one will be new too. But so I said, actually before I say what I said, you've not seen this before. It's your first time watch. We were both lukewarm, mediocre on the first one. How do you feel about Hatchet 2?
I liked it a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun. Still, not the most amazing movie in the world. It's not like this ratcheted up to my top 10 or anything, but I feel like it really solved a lot of the problems I had with the first one. It wasn't focusing on a lot of cringeworthy humor. The kills were still really fun and looked great, and it actually had kind of a story. The first one, I didn't really care about the characters that much, and the story is just pretty basic, and the story is not super deep here, but I actually did care about it and was interested in it, and I like most of the characters for the most part, so it's a pretty big step up from the first one, I'd say.
It's funny, because I said last movie, I remembered the second one being better, and we'll see if I keep that opinion when I watch it. And funnily enough, my opinion of it went down a little bit.
Interesting. Okay.
No, I still think it's better than the first one for kind of the reasons you said there is, but more of a plot. It's not as repetitive. It's not just them going in circles like the first one does. That said, watching it a week after the first one and I haven't seen it before, I still had that kind of thing where the kills are really cool, but some of the time waiting for the kills to kick in was kind of starting to drag. And it was it starts off better because you've got this big outrageous scene at the start, but then when it gets to setting things up, the characters are a bit better, and they're better because they're being proactive, because okay, we're forming a team to go and hunt them, whereas the first one, it's just all these kids stumble onto the land and they're running about screaming. Whereas this one,
I thought the kids were pretty annoying too, where there were some annoying characters here, but I don't think anyone I really disliked as much as the first one.
I wouldn't say they're good characters, they're just not as bad. I think that's how I'd put them for the most part.
That's fair.
Yeah. And the film suspects you might not have seen the first one because we get a new flashback to the origin of Victor Crowley. And the first chunk of it's all new stuff about his father and mother. But then at the end of it, you still get like a recap of the first flashback from the first one, and I couldn't help but feel like they're just making sure that if you didn't see the first one, you're going to be fine. You'll follow this, no problem.
Yeah.
But for us purists who watched the first one first, we continue the saga of Victor Crowley. Who knows where it'll lead in part 3? Who knows? More speculation on that when we can get the spoilers. But so yeah, my opinion is it's a little bit better than the first one. I still don't think it's great though, or really good. It is. I'd still put it in the okay spectrum.
Oh, certainly, yeah, I agree with that. Like I don't want to praise it too much. Like again, I wasn't saying like it's an amazing movie, but I just think compared to the first one, I think it's a pretty big step up. I definitely enjoyed it more, but yeah, it still feels like there's something maybe missing from having it, be like kind of that next level of like, oh, this is great. I really enjoy this.
Yeah, it's funny because it has that thing that I said in the first one where it feels like it's trying to be these 80s slasher movies, but it feels like it's not really nailing it. It's kind of it feels like a homage to it without actually feeling like its own movie, if that makes sense. Kind of like I think the analogy I used last time is when Tommy Wiseau tries to make something intentionally funny after The Room. It kind of feels like it's trying to be this thing, but it doesn't have the magic that those things had because it's not of the time and so on. Not to say you can't do it, but I just think that these movies are falling a little bit short of it. Is there anything else in spoiler free we can talk about? I don't know if there is. I mean, I guess we should mention Danielle Harris is taking over the lead role of Mary Beth, who horror fans will know as Jamie Lloyd from Halloween 4 and 5. Tim didn't know that last time, by the way. I had to tell him because he's a rank amateur.
Oh, sorry, I don't like some of the worst Halloween movies.
Screw you so much, you goat piss-stained piece of shit. Halloween 4 is phenomenal, and I will hear none of this. None of this. I mean, five's pretty shitty. I'm not gonna defend 5, but 4's great. You shut your mouth.
She's good in them. I'll give you that.
I think it's really funny though that she get known for doing horror movies at such a young age that she can now play like just sort of regular adult roles now, like because I feel like when you get a cameo from most horror actors, they're all ancient now because they were all like middle aged at the time. Whereas because she was a kid, like she's just like in her 30s or whatever now, and she's like she can play normal roles. Like I think that's kind of a funny thing.
It's true, yeah.
But hey, not that Tim seems to care very much. But I thought it was more. She's okay. She's fine. She's more likable, I think, than the last girl that was playing her. But
I agree with that. Yeah.
She's got more of an accent. I remember talking in the last one how she had no accent, but her brother and father were like,
all right,
like full on Southern. She's got a bit more of an accent in this, so I guess she's more authentic. It's worth mentioning a character who died in the first one has the actor's back playing the twin brother. Because the director wanted him back. I wonder if the third movie's got a triplet. Like there's a third one who looks the same. The only difference is he's got a goatee in this.
Yeah.
Which means he's obviously the evil version from the Mirror universe.
Oh, I guess I didn't think about that.
I'm hitting with all this good material tonight. Tim's just he's a dead audience. He's sitting there. I'm basically getting heckled. Did you have any other feelings in the film, Tim, before we get to spoilers?
I'm trying to think.
That's the thing, though. It's all just kills and like what the plot leads to. There's nothing else to talk about. Is that this may end up being a really short review because it's really straightforward. But
I'll be honest. I'm probably gonna need your help remembering some stuff because I only watched it Sunday, but I'm trying to think of like some of the standout kills, and I remember the one in the beginning with the intestines, which I think you also mentioned at the end of our last review. But I'm forgetting about like a lot of what the other ones were.
There's two other really notable ones, which obviously I'll save for spoilers. But
yeah. I guess like I don't know. I guess it's not a great endorsement that I just watched this two days ago, and I can't even remember some of the highlights of it.
I luckily I watched that about 7-8 hours ago, so I have I have a fresher recollection of it. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's really fun kills, but I think again it's still kind of forgettable. Like because I'd seen this before and I didn't remember any of the plot stuff at all.
Yeah,
like
it's it's all serviceable. But yeah, it doesn't stick with you. It's definitely not something like
Hmm.
that. Yeah, when it comes time to make your top whatever list, that I can't really imagine this ever being on
Nah. The
ranking that high.
Yeah, most of the new characters are like obviously Todd has a bigger role because he actually goes in the hunt with them.
I
Most
like
of the,
to.
most of the other characters are just kind of these rednecky types who try to prove how like tough they are. There is one guy who's a bit more normal, but he's like ex-girlfriends kind of like tagged along because he's getting
Yeah.
married soon and she wants to like kind of like steal him back. Uh, I mean their stuff's not really particularly great,
Oh,
except
I remember that kill.
except of course, it does lead to one of the funniest moments in the entire movie.
Okay, as soon as you said that, I remembered one of that death scene.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you're spoiling that they die then, Tim, is what you're saying. You're saying they're definitely dead.
Yep.
Full on spoilers for Tim right here. Okay.
If
Okay.
you're watching this movie and not thinking that mostly everyone's gonna die, then I don't know what to tell you.
Look, I'm not saying that's not a good point. I'm saying just etiquette, Tim. Etiquette. Just to do this properly. Anyway, so spoilers. But it's full spoiler warning for Hatchet 2 if you care. From this point on. Do you know what? I want to give them credit because the movie starts when like Mary Beth gets away and she runs to this cabin and this guy, or she gets to a boat and there's a guy in a boat and he helps her. I'd forgotten this because this was a moment in the first movie and we forgot to talk about it. They just casually mentioned one point there's this weirdo character who drinks his own piss and you see him in the first movie drinking out of his what do you call those things again?
Jug or whatever.
No, there's a name. It's the piss bottle. You pee in it. You get them at hospitals and you pee in them.
A catheter.
No, that's the bags that they put the tube up.
Oh.
I can't remember the exact name for them, but it's just like a little like, bottle. No, that's me. You shit in that. You shit in the bedpan.
Okay.
These are the little bottles. You just stick your dick in and you just pee into it, and it's got a handle.
I don't know.
But in the first movie, you see him drinking out of this, and it's disgusting as shit, right? Or piss, I should say, to be more accurate. But I didn't even realize it was him at first until he hands her something. He said, "Here, have something to drink." And you see what she's holding, and it's one of these things, these piss bottles.
Yeah.
And she almost takes a drink, and then she puts it back. And I'm like, "Oh my god, the suspense that she might drink this guy's piss." Because he hands her it and says, "Oh, drink that while it's warm." And I'm like,
Ugh.
"What?" Like, oh, disgusting. But yeah, so she like he freaks out when he finds out what her name is, implying that her family has actually something to do with the whole Crowley thing, which is fine, whatever. He finds the remember the fake like porn director guy from the first one?
Yeah.
He finds his camera, and there's some just random. There's one random girl who's taking her top off, and it's like whatever. And then there's a second one, and it's really creepy. He's basically following this girl through the street, going, "Hey, lift up your top, shows what you've got in there."
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's really young. And sure enough, she turns around and says, "Mister, I'm 14, go away." And like, it's a really sick little moment. I'll give them credit though, that's kind of supposed to be sick because the guy, as the joke says, "Oh, that ain't right." And he fast forwards. And then we get the two girls from the first movie, Harmony from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the brunette from the first movie. Which I actually kind of appreciated because it gave us that one last joke with those two and how like she's really dumb. Because she uses the word hermaphrodite, and she's like, "Oh, that's a big word for you. Do you know what it means?" And then she tells her what it means. And she's like, "Ew!" Like, it's like she didn't know. It was like a funny little moment. But it's all building up to him getting killed, and Victor Crowley rips out his intestines and then strangles them with his own intestines, to the point where it goes to the silhouette shot, and you see his entire head get like decapitated with his intestines. Now, I'm no biologist. I'm going to ask the question though: are intestines strong enough? But would they not rip apart if you're trying to actually cut someone's head off with them?
I assume they're probably not that strong, but hey, it leads to a nice, fun kill. You kind of let it go.
I'm just saying. There's an episode of MythBusters in here to be made. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think they're like surprisingly long. I think like.
Oh, they're really long. Yeah, I remember learning this in school. They're like silly long.
Yeah, like I can't even imagine.
like what you see in this movie, I think, is not even like half of the intestines. Like,
and there's like some cool stuff when he's trying to get away, and like you see it stretching out of his stomach and stuff, and I was wondering like how long they were gonna go with it.
Yeah, it's
pretty
really
cool.
over the top. It's a really fun kill to start things off. Then it slows down a bit because it's all about like her going to town and like finding Tony Todd and
Mm.
convincing her to help, and we get all the characters showing up to like maybe come in the boat because they're all getting offered money, and it all
Yeah.
kind of goes along. And we get
Puts out a
introduced,
bounty basically.
yeah, pretty much. And then we get the same actor from the first movie who's now playing his brother, and he's like there again. So we got him, and it all kind of builds up. And the one key plot point though is that Tony Todd says to the guy who's working for him, like, make sure you get this particular name included in the bunch, and he also makes sure Daniel Harris bring your uncle for protection. Basically, the whole plot is that he thinks that if Victor Crowley kills the 3 kids responsible for the fire, it'll end the curse. And it was her dad, her uncle, and then this random other dude with a beard.
Trent.
Who presumably them. Yeah, which is funny because throughout the entire film, if this, I mean, obviously you find out later on that this isn't actually her uncle. That's the kind of the big twist when Tony Todd thinks the curse is ended, and she's like, he wasn't really my uncle. He's my dad's best friend. My uncle died when I was 12. And it's at this moment, but which does line up because I was thinking throughout the movie, I'm like, wait a minute, if those 3 were that tight and they were all involved in this fire thing, why didn't there's like no point in this movie where the uncle kind of acknowledges that he knows the bearded guy. He never
That's true. Yeah.
never says hey, never gives him an awkward look to be like, oh, we used to know each other or anything like that. Just just goes on.
I'm interested where I believe his name is Reverend Zombie. I'm interested like where he got this theory. Because it doesn't obviously, by the end it turns out not to be true. And I wonder why he was like so.
Well, hold on a
sure.
second. You don't know it's not true. The opportunity's not there because the real uncle's not there to be killed. This is actually quite kind of the little small thing I love about this is that the plan might have actually worked had the real uncle still been alive for him to kill.
But the uncle did die though, just not by Victor Crowley's hand. Are you saying it wasn't his uncle that was one of those 3 kids?
No, I'm saying that he has to kill him himself because he didn't kill him. He never got his vengeance. So,
Oh, I guess, but then
the contract's null and void, shall we say?
I guess, but I feel like I don't know if his being alive like hinges on these 3 people, needing to die, and if I think he would know if he's like alive or not. If we're talking about like magic forces or something.
I'm not saying I think it would have worked. I just like the idea that it could have worked. We don't actually know for
That's
sure.
fair. Yeah.
Because
Okay.
he never actually does it. Because that's the obvious thing you think is going to happen. You think he's going to kill the uncle, and Tony Todd will think he's safe, but then blade through whatever, and like he's going to be fine. But instead, it's like no, that wasn't the uncle. So theoretically, the idea might have worked.
Okay.
It's possible. I don't know. But yeah, so let's talk about kills. No, before we get to kills, I want to talk about the funniest line in the movie.
Okay.
So eventually, ex-girlfriend and guy, like, she convinces him to like sort of make out with her and have sex, and she basically just like takes her top off because of course, and there's nowhere near as many boobs in this one as the last one, but there's a few, and she takes her top off. So while they're in the swamp, in this forest next to the swamp, and they're supposed to be looking for this, monstrous serial killer, they're having sex instead, and they're going at it doggy style, and she keeps saying things like, "Oh, how much do you love this?" Like, "Oh, I love it a lot," and he's like, and she's like, and she's just essentially talking dirty, but with these really stupid phrases, and she's like, how much do you love it? Did it like, I love it loads. He's like, did you love it more than this thing? Yeah, I love it more than that thing. Do you love it more than baby Jesus? And he's like he's still pounding away, and he's like, that seems inappropriate. And he just keeps pounding. He's like, nah, do you love it more than baby Jesus? Say it. Tell me you love it more than baby Jesus. And he's like, it's about an equal amount. And again, the whole time he's just pounding away. This entire scene. That really cracked me up. And then it's like, say you love me.
Because he's engaged to someone else at the moment, so.
Yeah, because he gets his head cut off, and then his body's still sort of thrusting for a lot. It's like there was a few thrusts sort of left in the tank once his head was cut off, and he's still kind of thrusting. And then she gets was it a machete, a hatchet, whatever he was using.
Wait, was she the one where like he like just like I remember that there was someone he killed where he was basically taking the hatchet and like just hammering it into their head like over and over and over again.
Oh no, that was I think that was the really hillbilly guy. You know,
Okay.
Cletus maybe.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
let him a Chad. It was one of those guys. I think who got
Yeah.
the just the
There,
repeated bashing to the head.
yeah. I liked how like long that went on for.
It was a silly amount because at first it was just kind of a whatever kill, but then it
Yeah.
kept it going and going and going until his head was just like this, like
Yeah.
oozing pit of blood. It was like, okay, you went long enough that became kind of funny. So
Yeah.
I'll give you it. Now she gets stabbed with whatever I can't remember what weapon he's got. I'll presume hatchet given the movie
Oh yeah,
title.
it like goes through her chest.
Yeah, well then he goes up her legs as well. I don't know if he does that first or second,
Oh,
but he goes
yeah.
for the crotch. So that's okay. Of course, Tony Todd's death is extreme as shit. He gets cut in half, and then Victor Crowley pulls him out of his skin. He grabs the bottom of his spine and pulls him out of his skin, and then he's dangling there, and it's all the just these insides.
Yeah.
There's no skin.
That looks pretty. It was really well done too, and like just the way his like eyes were kind of still looking around.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Scary.
another cool one. The bearded guy. He gets basically. Victor puts his like head against a table, so he's like biting the table, the edge of the
Oh,
table.
right.
And then,
Yeah.
and then he kicks the back of his head, and then the top of his head just slides across the table. And it's still, and again with the eyes, it looks around a little bit afterwards. So there's some fun kills.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, though, the weakest one, twice in a row, and by twice in a row, I mean it was weak in the first movie as well, was the Sander kill.
Oh yeah.
Because-
that one wasn't great.
Again, it just looks like it's holding it in place above his head, and then once the Sander comes away and you see like the exposed brain, it looks really bad because it looks like it's just stuck on top of his head. It doesn't look like it's in his head. It looks like it's just this thing that's been stuck on. It looks really. It's just the effects for the kills have been so good. Otherwise, that it sticks out as being looking really shitty for that one.
Yeah. It's a good idea, not executed the best.
Pretty much, yeah. That's basically it. After he kills Tony Todd, though, Danielle Harris comes in with a hatchet and just smooshes the shit out of his face. Basically what he did to the other guy earlier on. She just keeps hacking at his thingy and shoots him in the head, and yeah. Basically, do you know what? Like the first movie, I feel like it cut to black like really suddenly at the end.
Yeah, I don't think it was as jarring as the first one, but yeah, it still doesn't really feel like the end. It does kind of catch you by surprise.
I wonder if the third one picks up at that exact moment again.
Guess we'll see.
And does Victor Crowley's head just grow back? Because his head's basically gone at the end when she bashes him to shit. Like I feel like maybe his head. Does he? Is it like Wolverine? Does he grow parts back? Is that?
I'm guessing he has like some type of regenerative, can't say it, abilities. But yeah, nothing really has seemed to slow him down so far.
How did you feel about the really awkward Jason Voorhees and Leslie Vernon reference?
They were. I feel like in other movies it might be kind of jarring, but I don't know. I feel like kind of the point of this is to like celebrate classic horror, so it actually didn't bother me that much. Like,
I don't know,
just because it seems like such a thing that this is like a celebration of horror. You have all these classic actors and stuff, and it could have been done better, sure. But yeah, it was all right.
The Leslie Vernon one in particular, after the Jason references. Oh, in my town we have this legend about this guy named Leslie Vernon. I thought that was really, especially since when this came out. I'm going to just make a leap and say that someone on this movie worked in that. Maybe even the actor. I don't know if the actor was. It's been a long time since I've seen The Rise of Leslie Vernon, but
that's what I kind of assumed is that they're either friends with the people that made that movie, or even the guy that said the line. I don't know if he was like one of the actors or something in it. So.
Yeah, it feels so specific a reference. I mean, Jason, everyone references Friday the 13th. Why wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, Leslie Vernon kind of, it feels like the same kind of like, not the same exact type of movie, but it feels like a kind of love letter to these slasher movies in the same way that, like, you feel that the people that made them really like the genre.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you feel about the extended flashback where we see that Kane Hodder cheated on his dying wife with the the helper?
That was really weird. First of all, there's I mean, I love Kane Hodder. Like he, plays these, big like lumbering killers really well. But there's something that just like looks odd about him when you do a close up. Like uh, I don't know. It seems like there's no like in between his head and his neck.
He has no
I don't know.
chin. That's what you're trying to
Yeah.
say. He has no
Yeah.
chin. Yeah. No.
I always like can't help when I'm looking at him being like, such a such an odd looking man. I love him, but it
Yeah.
always distracts me.
That is a weird look. I mean, admittedly, we both have beards, so we really accent our chins a little bit.
Oh,
But
sure. Yeah.
I mean, I just there's a lot of going back there. There's a lot of going
Yeah.
back. Whereas with Kane Hodder, it just feels like it goes like that, like
Yeah.
down to his neck. Yeah, it's bizarre. But yeah, so yeah, just the fact that not Kane Hodder, the fact that Victor Crowley is the way he is. He was born with the tumors because his dying mother woke up from the dead and put a curse on him.
I did like that she, like, I mean, it's so like ludicrous. It's kind of funny that she just pops up and like spits out this curse. Like it feels very like Evil Deadish or something. So I did kind of think that was funny. It's like yeah, it's not a great um I guess like origin story, but I feel like in this type of movie where it is kind of silly that it works.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of poking fun at it because it's so silly. I don't really have much of a problem with it. It just
Oh sure, yeah.
it was worth talking about, I think, and bringing up. Uh, but yeah, I mean that's Hatchet too, basically. So, some fun kills.
Mm.
Characters are a little bit more memorable, a little bit less annoying. Although I don't think good necessarily either.
Right, yeah.
Uh,
It's definitely more of the same, and a little better done. So if you like the first one, this is gonna give you more, of what you like probably.
yeah, I think what this really has going for it over the first one is Tony Todd being there for more of the movie. The movie starting with a good kill because the last one didn't start with a good kill. The starting kill of the last one was like off camera. There's this
Yeah, yeah.
open this big silly sequence of the intestines, and then just the fact that once we actually get off the boats and we're in the woods, it doesn't feel like it's just going in circles because they actually split up in this movie and he kills like various people and it all was packed together. So
Yeah.
it felt a bit more like a natural slasher movie to an extent in the second half this time. Whereas the first one, it felt like it was just always, oh, he shows up, kills one, the rest of the group run away, they wander around. Oh, he shows up, he kills one, the rest of the group wander away. Like so, yeah.
Yeah, it flowed a little better. It also I thought looked a lot better because I thought the first one looked pretty rough, and this one seems like they had maybe probably bigger budget, maybe better equipment or something.
Joe, I don't actually think it was better equipment. It felt like it was just a different shooting style. Because
Okay.
it's still like digital video to me. It's still like HD video
Sure.
that we're recording on. I think they were still shooting with similar stuff. It was just that a stylistic choice was made that maybe just gave it a bit more of a look. That it does look different. Yeah, it does. Like so.
Like it's still not like the best quality or whatever, but again, like everything else in it was a step up from the first one.
Yeah, mild step up, which I think leads us neatly to the scores. If you want to rate this out of 10, Timbo.
I think I will give this one I think I'll give it a 6.5. A lot of fun to be had, a lot better than the first one. And still not up to like a really good yet, but like getting better. I'm definitely intrigued to see the next ones, so it's a good sign.
I'm going a bit lower. I'm actually going to go with a 5.5, which is 0.5 more than the first one. I gave the first one a 5. I'm giving this 5.5. Hopefully the third one can get up to a 6 for me. That's the hope. That is the hope. But yeah, like I say, I think I would have probably been more in line with your score the first time I watched it. I think the second time it was like, okay, now that I know the silly sort of stuff that's coming, it's not maybe holding my attention as much. It's not as rewatchable, say, maybe as like some of the Friday the 13th sequels that we've been revisiting and having fun with. But
that's true. Yeah, like it's not. I'm not in a rush to watch this again anytime soon, and yeah, maybe it is just you get a little inflated after watching the first one and being like, oh wow, this is better than that one. But yeah.
But yeah, that's Hatchet 2. So, uh, by all means, if you like the first one, you'll probably like this one. And if you didn't like the first one, you may like this one a bit more, but it's not like a big difference either. So I wouldn't, if you hated the first one, if you hated it.
Yeah. If you thought the first one was okay, this one's probably worth a watch. But if you didn't like the first one at all, then yeah, probably stay away.
Yeah. So there you go. So that is Hatchet 2. So we will be back next week with Hatchet 3 in time before Victor Crowley. Not Hatchet 4. Why call it Hatchet 4? Like, and his organized system.
I don't. The thing that's weird is I don't like this trend where the next installment of the movie is just the name of the franchise star or whatever. But I understand it. But with this, I feel like Victor Crowley is not like a huge name. I before watching this for the show, if you just told me, oh, there's a Victor Crowley movie, I would not know what that is. I don't know if that hurts or helps them, but
I do not know. But hey, so yeah, let us know what you think of the movie. If you've seen it in the comments and whatnot, like and subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You'll get a link to that in the description, as well as some other useful links. But otherwise, that is it. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching scary movies, and we'll see you